and welcome to another episode of eDiscoveryChicks, the podcast about all things eDiscovery and legal tech, hosted by two gals who've personally lived through the moment where you realize your entire litigation program lives inside one person's head. And that person is on a beach somewhere with their out of office on. Anyways, we're your hosts. That's Bree.
And that's Angie. Sometimes that person is you.
Could be.
That's been me before. I'm like, why won't anybody leave me alone when I'm on vacation? But anyway, hi, listeners. Today we're kicking off something that we wanted to do for a while, actually. We're going to start a multi-part series all about the eDiscovery playbook. That's right. We're going to talk about what goes in it, what it is, and the stuff that nobody tells you to write down but absolutely should be there.
Well, that's the
Um,
juicy stuff.
so you'll want to stay tuned for that.
Yeah. So before we kind of dive into it, Bree, how you doing today? How's it hanging?
I've had a little bit of a rough month. I don't know what my body's trying to tell me. Maybe slow down, take it easy. Maybe I do need to take a vacation. I started out with this compressed disc thing that makes my left foot fall asleep and my left leg not quite work right. So I basically walk around all the time like I'm drunk and I am not drunk. So I'm thinking maybe I should wear a pin or something that's like, "Hi, I'm not drunk." uh,
Bree, listen, I'm not judging you. It's okay. I'm here to support you.
oh my god. It's frustrating when your body just doesn't do what your brain wants it to. But I just kind of roll with it. How are you doing?
I am good. I also have had a medical encounter lately. So I think it was maybe a week ago. I've waited 6 months to see this sleep doctor because I suck at sleep. It's not a skill that I have. So I go in and I think I'm going into kind of a normal doctor's office, office vibes, whatever. Instead, it's in a hospital. And so, first of all, I don't go in through the front door of the hospital because I can't figure out where that is. I don't know. So I go in through the place where they wheel people out of ambulances. So I sort of schmurp my way into the hospital that way. I'm told go up to this floor, and the guy told me take a right at some point, whatever, and I didn't really hear him, and I was just sort of okay. So I take the elevator up to this floor, I get out, and it's dark. There are no lights on this hospital floor, and all the rooms have caution tape and an X over them. And I was like, this is it. This is how I die. I'm in a horror film. Anyways, so eventually, I find my way, come to crawl through the hospital, walking at a very brisk pace, and I find the light, and this is the sleep clinic. And so I go and I get in and I start talking to this doctor, and he's very clinical. He's wearing a mask, he has a clipboard, he has a pen, he's scribbling furiously with said pen, and he interviews me for a straight hour about my life, my habits, my childhood, my hopes and dreams, why I've changed jobs,
Wow.
when I eat dinner. I mean, all this stuff, right? And at the end of the hour, he thunks his pen down on the clipboard, puts it down, takes his mask off, and he goes, his whole entire demeanor changes. And he goes, listen, I got news for you. You're stressed out. And I was like, uh-huh, aware, aware. And he goes, no, but you're not functioning well with it. And I was like, uh-huh, yeah. And he was like, all right, here's what you're gonna do. He sits down, elbows on knees, and it's just listen, bitch, I'm gonna get your life in order. And he goes, here's what you're gonna do. 10 minutes a day, no inputs. You just sit there alone with your thoughts. And I was like, well, that feels scary. I don't think I want to do that. And he's like, no, you're gonna do it because you're practicing for nighttime when you can't turn your brain off. So you just sit there, you be alone with your thoughts. You do it. You're gonna want to pick up your phone. Don't do it. You sit your butt back down. Okay. And then he goes, and next, at nighttime, you are going to wind down. You can doom scroll. You can online shop. You can watch TV. You can do an e-reader. You can read a book. You can meditate. I don't really care what you do, but whatever you do, don't multitask. You tell yourself you're doing it to de-stress, and then you sit your butt down and you do it. You're going to want to fold laundry if you're watching TV. Don't do it. Put your butt back in bed and watch TV. He's like, you're going to want to be on your phone and doing multiple things at once and listening to something and scrolling. Don't do it. Pick one or the other. I was like, oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. They, like, continues in that vein for, like, 30 minutes, just
Oh my
basically
gosh.
yelling at me about how I need to get my life together. At the end of it, I was like, "That was one of the best experiences of my life," and I think that says something bad about me. Really enjoyed being yelled at by this tiny little man about my degenerate habits and
I wanna
inability
go
to sit
see
still.
him. He'd probably be like, "I give up. You're a mess." Next.
So, yeah, anyways,
It's
yay
very
for
rare to find, I feel like, and for some reason, I have a lot of experience with medical providers, but it's very rare to find people that really wanna sit there and dig in and really get to know you, you know? So if I do find somebody
Yeah.
like that, I hold on to them forever. I'm like, "You can't go." And a lot of my people actually retire, like, when I'm in their care, I'm like, "Wait a second, you can't retire until I die." Like, that's not
Send
allowed.
them over the edge, they're like, "Alright, I'm out. I can't do this anymore." Oh my god, I love it. Well, should we
Yeah,
talk about
we have some.
eDiscovery?
Oh, yeah, I forgot that's what we do here.
Right, that's what we do, we do.
eDiscoveryChicks podcast.
Yeah.
Got it.
Ah, yes, yes, yes. Cool. So, let's kick this off. We are so stoked about this eDiscovery Playbook multi-part series. We've been talking about this forever. Playbooks are, I'm weirdly, like, very passionate about them. Love a playbook. Um,
Okay, that's not that weird, actually, now that I know you.
yeah,
'Cause, I
yeah,
mean,
it actually does make sense. Yes, I
you
like
like a
a
good protocol, you like a good checklist, you like repeatable processes, you
do
like
I ever.
efficiency. It all falls in line. And which is one of the reasons why I love you, because we are like-minded in that.
Yes, absolutely. Although we were talking before this episode about I just don't understand Microsoft. I don't get how it works. It confuses me. Literally every single part of it flummoxes me. And Bree's that way with Google. And of course, I have forced her to use Google on this podcast, but I
And
digress.
I'm grateful for that because now I get to learn how to use Google, and I have. I've learned a lot of things through Angie, but it's funny to me that somebody would feel uncomfortable with Microsoft because 'cause I'm like, "That's all we had forever." Like, so there was no option.
I
But
mean,
it
look.
is like the Android versus Apple or iPhone
Yep.
argument.
Yep. And actually, Brie and I are going to start a series on LinkedIn and Instagram called This or That, which are things that we disagree on. And we are trying to spark a debate with our followings. So if you see one of those on either platform, please comment. Okay.
And
Anyway,
always pick my side because 'cause I'm always right. No, I'm just kidding.
are you? No. All right. So today, part one of our eDiscovery Playbook series. This is the foundation. We're going to talk about what a playbook actually is, why you need one, even if you think you don't, and what it covers. So, without further ado, let's
Yeah.
get into it. We're going to start with the problem because that's always more motivating than the solution, at least for me. And we're going to give you a couple specific scenarios, not horror stories, just kind of the ordinary, predictable chaos that happens when there's no playbook. And I want to be clear, these are not edge cases, these are just Tuesday cases.
Let's talk about the problems that we have and why the playbook exists in the first place. We have some chaos agents, do we want to call them?
Yeah.
Since we're in that agentic AI mindset these days. So,
That's a
chaos,
pun that would Doug Austin would be proud of.
I know. Chaos agent number one. Agents always remind me of like Inspector Gadget or something just because I'm that old. But anyway, chaos agent number one, the out of office problem. So here's the setup. The matter comes in, the subpoena comes in, all of a sudden you have an HR complaint or you've got an investigation that needs to happen. And the person that's supposed to be doing that is on vacay. Nobody else knows which systems are in scope for that matter or that type of matter. Nobody knows where the templates are for the legal holds or the questionnaires. Nobody knows which outside counsel it needs to be involved, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Everything either grinds to a halt, like, well, sorry, we can't answer you until Angie comes back from her hiking vacation or wherever
You
she is.
even know me?
Well, I know you're not on the beach with me, just chilling.
I know. So I do love a hike, but just a day hike. I'm
Okay.
not a backpacker.
She's on her day hike somewhere in some beautiful place. And we're like, yeah, we can't do anything until she gets back from her vacay. Or we're like, you know what? It can't be that hard. I mean, Angie does it. So we'll just figure it out. We'll make it up on the fly. And then Angie comes back and she's
That
like, what
ass has
the
to
hell?
figure it out.
And we've all been there. We've all taken the time off and come back from vacation and we're like, "What were these people doing? This is exactly why I work here and why I should get paid more money because you guys cannot figure it out."
Uh-huh.
But it's really not a staffing problem. It's more of a procedural problem and more of a communication problem. We don't have a system in place that's repeatable by whoever picks up that eDiscovery playbook and can do whatever it is that they need to do. So the out of office problem is chaos agent number one.
Yeah, I that one's a real, like, a sticker for me because it's just if you have only one point of failure for a process, you are just setting yourself up to fail, right? Alright, let's talk about chaos agent number 2, which is the consistency problem. So, I've worked on in-house teams where everybody it was very ad hoc and everyone had a sort of a different standard for things, and the problem there is that you're gonna end up having inconsistent processes that beget inconsistent results. So let me explain what I mean by that. You've got two attorneys, similar matters, but divergent instincts. One issues a hold, the other doesn't. One retains outside counsel, the other handles it in house. One sends a 2-paragraph settlement authority request, the other produces a 17-page opus. Now you've got no defensible standard and inconsistent treatment across your case portfolio, which is exactly the species of thing that's going to surface in discovery about discovery. Delightful. I jest. Everyone hates discovery about discovery. It's the worst. So get your house in order up front, and you'll be less likely to face repercussions on the back end. And one thing I want to flag is like this type of consistency, it's not just like bureaucratic fussiness, it's how you defend your decisions. If you can say to a court, we treated this matter consistent with our standard approach for this matter type, that's going to hit way differently than, well, depending on who was, handling the case that week. Shrug.
So, chaos agent number 3 is the old memory problem. So, it could be a memory problem for various different reasons. It could be whoever left took that institutional history with them, and we don't have that anymore. It could be like me. I don't remember what I did last week or the last time I worked on this type of matter. Or it could be like, I mean, we have teams all the time that are clients of ours, and I can relate to this from when I worked in an insurance company. We would get sued for all kinds of stuff because we had all different types of specialty insurance that we carried that all over the world. You could literally be working with tractors one day, airplanes the next, and blueberries the next, and medical insurance the next. So who knows? When you have a variety of litigation like that, or subpoenas walking in the door, or if you were a person doing internal investigations, that's another one. You never know what people will do. They will do so many things that surprise you that you never thought of before. And you're like, what in the whole wide world? I never thought I'd be talking about this. When those things are happening, then it's hard. It's like you have to recreate the wheel all the time. We have to remember who was the vendor that helped us the last time we had to do fill in the blank. When we had to image that weird, wacky device, who was that one guy we called? Or who were the different people that helped us in terms of outside counsel? Who were the custodians internally that were involved? Who internally are the subject matter experts? What is that system, that database that department uses that's involved? All of those questions that you had resolved or answered at one point in time are like old news and now you've forgotten. And that's why you need an eDiscovery playbook so that you can go back and refer to those in a systematic way. And you're like, oh, yeah, here it is right here in my playbook. So you don't have to start from scratch every single time that you start something new. And this kind of problem always drove me nuts when I was working in house because you're like, dang, I should have just written all this down because now I know I'm going to miss something. I'm going to make a mistake or I'm going to leave somebody out. And I wish I didn't have to spend all this time having to go back and rebuild. Anyway, that's chaos agent number 3 is that plain old memory problem. Angie,
Oh,
can
yeah.
you relate to that at all?
Yeah. Yeah, and this one, like, it sucks because it's just, like, invisible until it's a problem, and then you're like, "Ugh,
Yeah.
cool. There goes my weekend." Um, no, but okay, so to recap, these are sort of the 3 of the biggest reasons why you might wanna consider a playbook. Like number one, the out of office problem. Number two, the consistency problem. And number three, the institutional memory problem. But I want to add to that too, one last thing, which is this idea that through working through matters iteratively, you are going to arrive at the best practices. You are going to find the path of least resistance, the thing that gets you from preservation letter through production the most quickly and cost effectively. And it's so important to memorialize that somewhere so that the people behind you understand how to get there better. And that way you're going to preserve company resources, you're going to preserve their time. No one's going to be coming to you and asking you questions because it's all memorialized somewhere. It's a way of just like working smarter, not harder.
Yes, and amen and amen.
So Bree, what even is the playbook?
Well, one of the reasons why Angie and I really wanted to cover this subject matter with you guys is that we're all about empowering our flock to actually put into practice things that will better them and better their companies or their clients, right? And it's sometimes we get so lost in eDiscovery just talking about theories and specific topics or getting lost in AI, for example. And we forget to like talk about the practical use items that actually, if we knew more about and if we could pass advice on to our younger selves, we would have saved ourselves a lot of heartache. So that's really one of our general missions with the podcast and why this subject means something to us. But in terms of a playbook, it means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. Some people are using things like a Google Doc, SharePoint site, Trello board, binders. Some people are like even printing off legit books.
Like with
But
paper?
with paper,
What?
yes, with laminated covers and everything. The bottom line is you got to do what works for your team in a format that works for, guess what, your team. And you can get a lot of consultation from outside parties, which I actually did when I put together a playbook for my internal team, because there's some things I knew. Well, there's a lot of things I know and don't know, but there are some things I knew I needed, like, supplementation. Like, I can tell you what I know about fill in the blank, but I need somebody who's done this for 20 years, that's talked to lots of different people in different industries and has thought about things in a different from a different perspective to make sure that I'm thinking about all of this in the right way. So having that consultant from the outside to kind of double check me and add and supplement as needed or take away as needed was super helpful. But the moral of the story is it doesn't matter what format you choose and where you choose to do this. Just choose something that works for you, your company, and your team, and you're good to go.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm going to yes and that when we start talking about the structure of your playbook. So I mean, at bottom, there's no prescribed structure. You should build it for your reality. This isn't the EDRM. This isn't a defined framework with a specific sequence. And there's no like canonical structure for a playbook. It's going to be idiosyncratic and it's going to match your organization and what you and your team, your systems, your matter types, your risk appetites, your vendor relationships, all of these things factor into the structure that's going to work best. A playbook for a two-person in-house team at a scrappy tech company, that's going to look a hell of a lot different than a playbook for the litigation support for department at a Fortune 500. It's just going to be different. It's not a bug, it's a feature. And I'll say this too, you're not building towards a specific standard. You're building towards your North Star should be a document that works for your actual life, not some ideal of legal operations that exists in a white paper somewhere.
Yeah, and as you get started and you're defining what a playbook looks like for you and your team and your company, one thing to understand is the scope of what it will involve and the things that it actually is not. Like a playbook is not a manual that's like a how do you use this software in order to turn it on, you push start or whatever. It is not a how-to manual. It is there might be pieces of it, by the way, that look like that though, because there might be some instructions in there of like, "Hey, here's what the templates are for the legal hold if you're doing this type or whatever." That's okay, but don't get carried away thinking that you have to explain all the who's its and what's its like a manual would. It's also not a vendor contract. It's not, hey, we're going to go contract with this legal service provider or outside counsel or whatever. This is what their roles are going to be. This is what our roles are going to be. It's not making policies within your organization. Like, here's where the legal hold policy is. Here's where the IT, I don't know, secure data security policies are. Here's where data retention policies are. It can refer to those, but it's not those policies. It's not a training, like your HR LMS system or whatever you use. It's not a one-time project like, "Hey, we're gonna do this once and it'll be great forever," or "Great for the next 5 years." Like, nope. It's gonna
Living
be
document,
yep,
people.
yep, it's gonna be alive. So know that.
Yeah, I feel like the best one sentence definition I've got is that a playbook is your organization's documented answer to how do we handle litigation? It's the thing you hand a new attorney on day one and say, here's how we do things. Here's who you call, here's what we decide and how, and here's what consistent looks like at our org.
Also, we're gonna talk about several different playbook sections, and we'll also be covering them throughout the series. And they all have a specific fracture point, a moment where the absence of a playbook does measurable damage. We're not just going to be describing the components of playbooks as we move forward. We're going to show you where things break and what a playbook has to say in order to prevent it.
All right, so let's talk about post matter closeout, which I know feels like a counterintuitive place to start our journey, but I want to build on this concept of a playbook as being a living document. So I have seen playbooks that do have this section in them, and I have seen playbooks that don't. And the superior ones are those that address post matter closeout. So here's why. That's the instance where you get to breathe and make your playbook a little bit smarter. So it's almost I feel like organizations don't do this with any real rigor because by the time a matter closes, everyone's just like exhausted and they want to move on to the next thing, and no one's interested in having a little retrospective about it. But your playbook should require it. Not a lengthy debrief, not a blame session, but just a documented capture of what worked, what didn't, and what changes as a result. The whole point, after all of a playbook is that institutional knowledge survives the individuals who hold it. And post matter review is the mechanism that makes that.
Yeah, I'll tell you, when I was a young paralegal, long, long ago, I worked for an attorney, and I'll say his name because I have a lot of respect for him, but his name is Paul Yetter. He's still in practice today. He works at Yetter and Coleman. And Paul is one of the most brilliant attorneys I've ever worked for. And he's also one of the most particular and detail oriented people I've ever met. And
There's
I,
never like that.
I know. And when you're 25, you're real annoyed by people like this because you're like, I want to go out and have happy hour, bruh. Like, I don't want to have to do this like the 20th time.
I don't want your shit right now. There's $5 fries down the street.
Right. Exactly. But you look back at my age now and you're like, man, I'm really grateful for people like him who taught me how to be better. And something that he was adamant about was lessons learned, is what he'd call it. So after trial, when all you wanted to do was go to sleep or go drink heavily or go on vacation, whatever it is, he would be like, no, 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 we have to have lessons learned while everybody's here. And we would go back through that entire trial and talk about a whole bunch of things that went well, that didn't go well, etc., so that we could make note of what we wanted to do again, what we never wanted to do again. And I've always taken that with me in my career since I worked for Paul. And that's kind of exactly what we're talking about here. So you want to have room in your playbook to note these things, but you want to do these things on the regular so you can also update your playbook as you need to. And what we're talking about is having that discussion about what went well, like what processes actually worked out super well. It was really helpful, very efficient. You were so happy you had your playbook because you didn't have to go back and rethink things again, and it worked out perfectly or semi perfectly. What went sideways? What was like, dang, we made our playbook after one matter and we did not consider these five other things and we should have. And what did those look like? What gaps were there? What could we have done to prevent those? Next time, what would we do differently? And being specific and actionable when we're talking about these things is helpful because the next time that this type of matter comes up again, we won't have to spin our wheels in motion like we did this time. Making some notes about vendors, outside counsel, legal service providers. What did they do that was awesome? Would we use them again? What did they do that was not so awesome? And who do we need to nix like forever? Because we never want to deal with them again, right? So
This is
those are
a
some good
burn book,
notes.
people. No, I'm kidding.
Right. And then another area that you might want to cover are data source surprises. Like, what were some specific data sources that caused you trouble? And what were some new obstacles that you had to overcome or new data systems and people that you had to consider? I always wanted to map out, like, hey, if I had this data source that was super rando in like this really random subsidiary or whatever, who were the people that were the administrators of that system? Who were the IT
Mhm.
owners? Who were the business owners, et cetera? And if there were something weird that like, hey, I needed to ingest, or I'm sorry, I needed to export data, what format was I able to export it in? Like making little notes like that so you don't have to go back and ask so many questions the next time that they become relevant is super helpful.
Can I do
So
one thing about that really quick? So I
yeah.
feel like that's so important when like, especially when you're in-house somewhere, because you're gonna have turnover, it's inevitable, but legal is so often I mean, you're a resource suck, and you are often viewed as the department of no, and so I always thought it was my mission as in-house counsel to be the best partner to other verticals in the org as I could. We relied so heavily on, like, IT and engineering and stuff, and so I kept really meticulous notes for my team about, okay, if you need to collect from this data source, here's the system admin. They prefer to communicate on Slack. They prefer like a hard deadline. You're going to need to tell them these three things in order for them to like get data out of that. And so I thought that I always thought that was part of me being a good corporate citizen too. That's all I'll say.
Yes, for sure. So when Angie and I are talking about how this document is always live, this is one of those reasons. You're going to have lessons learned that are going to alter your playbook, hopefully each time. Hopefully each time you figured out something that will make you better next time. So anyway, that's something to keep in mind. So that's when we're talking about playbooks from here on out for the rest of the series, those are our thoughts about what goes into them and what they entail.
And if when you're thinking about what goes into your playbook, we're gonna in a couple minutes preview the upcoming segments for you. But the standard I would apply is if something went wrong in this matter, that also went wrong in a prior matter. That's a playbook failure, not a bad luck situation. The playbook exists so that hard lessons don't have to be relearned by every new person who joins the team or rediscovered every time a similar matter comes around. Post matter review is really where you close that loop. It is, and I recognize this is an extravagant thing to say about a document, but it is an act of institutional generosity. You are making things easier for the person who handles the next matter, whoever that turns out to be. And you are making things easier for everyone that they have to interact with, whoever they may be, too. Soapbox ended.
Mic drop. So we're going to kind of leave you here. And I know that we've left you hanging, and we kind of did that on purpose because we got a whole series about this. The first season of the eDiscovery Chicks, we spent dissecting the EDRM and we broke it down in piece by piece, stage by stage. We called in people to help us talk about certain subjects, and we defined what all of those are. And that's a lot of feedback that we received from our listeners is how helpful that has been. So we're hoping to do something similar with our playbook. We now get that, hey, this isn't making policies for a whole organization. This isn't me having to train everybody about stuff or creating some booklet or manual on how to use my software. This is actually us recording our thoughts on our workflow for eDiscovery. Everything from the moment that the matter or the subpoena or the investigation walks in the door. When the trigger event happens, that's when the playbook opens. So we're going to dissect that with you guys over the next few episodes of the series. And we look forward to hearing from you. And if you, by the way, have things in your playbook that you're like, don't forget this part because it saved my life and I want to pass this on, we'd love to hear from you. And so you can reach us by either emailing us at Bree or at Angie at eDiscoveryChicks.com, or you can message us on LinkedIn.
And we would love to hear from you. So, quick
Yes.
preview of the topics that we are going to cover in the upcoming episodes in this series. We are going to talk about triggers and holds. What triggers the need for a legal hold? How do you go about doing that? And what should your playbook say about it? We're going to talk about bring your own device policies, which is just dicey as all hell. Then we're going to talk about collection, processing, and early case assessment and why those are so important. We're going to talk about document review. How do you manage that? What should your playbook spell out? What should be consistent matter to matter? Then we're going to talk about outside counsel and vendor management. This is spicy, y'all. I feel like a lot of playbooks omit this section, but I think it's really important to keep a list of red lit and green lit firms and why. And then we're going to close things out with some conversations about privilege and confidentiality. And then finally, requesting settlement authority. And that's our roadmap, y'all. And that also wraps up episode 1 of this series. Thank you so much for listening today. We really enjoy having you with us here on the eDiscovery Chicks. Please follow us on LinkedIn and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. And if this series is making you want to go build or overhaul your playbook, good. That's the whole point. Tag us when you do. Bye.
Bye. The views we've expressed today are the eDiscovery Chicks views and don't necessarily represent the views of our employers, partners, or clients. The podcast is available solely for educational purposes to provide general information about eDiscovery principles and not to provide legal advice to any specific situation. It is not a substitute for legal advice from a lawyer you retained or who has agreed to represent you.